for yourself, Sean, and then we'll just start with our normal business advisory, hot seat coaching, and we'll teach people how to be mentored, coached, and taught.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Dill. Let me start out by apologizing. I've been tromping around the world, well, the country. We weren't outside of the country, but Dave this week gave a couple of talks and spoke on the phone a whole lot, and I've lost my voice a little bit, but I'm trying to power through this. I hope that.
Well, Sean, you need to learn the potato chip trick. So let's just start right there with a little mentoring. So if you lose your voice from talking, speaking, integrating questions and answers, ask me anything. Scott Duffy, one of my other mentoring clients, he taught me eat a bag of Lay's potato chips. I don't know, but it'll strengthen your voice. But go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
Well, I'll get on that right. I'm gonna have potato chips for breakfast this morning. I work with, alongside my beautiful wife, Lacey Book, we work with service providers. We help service providers actually fall in love with the idea of being an entrepreneur. You know, the concept that if you have something big to offer the world, that you have to embrace the idea of sales and marketing. Unfortunately, in our eyes, probably the world's greatest providers, the world's greatest healers, the world's greatest souls that have something big to offer the world live in relative obscurity simply because they don't market themselves or they're not comfortable selling. And so we teach them how to do that so that they can amplify their message, so that they can reach even more people, make an even bigger impact, and ultimately at the end, so that they can create the lifestyle that they deserve.
That's awesome. And Sean, let's get right into it. What do you got for me today?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about relationship capital. And I know that you talk a lot about this, and I figure that we should go through some of the fundamentals at the beginning. And then I have some questions that I don't think that I've heard people ask you before, but it wouldn't make sense to start there. We have to start with some of your constructs on relationships. I love how you were talking about how your success is determined by the quality of your questions. And I think that every day we should be keeping a journal, in essence, of our biggest question, concern, obstacle, or opportunity. I like to write them down. I not write them physically for me, but you can write them physically. I put them into my phone. And then I like to revisit them as part of an unwinding routine that you teach. And you know what? When you identify your biggest question, concern, obstacle, or opportunity in the morning, and then you look back at the end of the day, so many times the universe provides it for you, the answer to that. You don't even realize it. But here's what happens. Sometimes you don't find the answer. And I keep sort of a log of all of my questions, concerns, obstacles, and opportunities that are not resolved. That's what you bring to opportunities like this when you're receiving mentoring. I want to start with how do you find great relationships? Everybody wants collaborative relationships, but I think a lot of people just think like, well, hopefully somebody will come to me one day and offer to do business with me and give me half of the revenue. How do I find opportunities to enter into relationship with people?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I've spent an extraordinary amount of time creating a pragmatic methodology of creating a community, a consciousness, a frequency, or a neighborhood of what I call sponsors and power sponsors. Sponsors are people that know someone that can help me. And that's more powerful today than it's ever been because people are connected to more people than they've ever been connected to. And mostly because of the aspect of social media and all of the different platforms that exist. A power sponsor is someone that actually can help you themselves. And also, of course, know people that can help you because people surround themselves with like-minded people. To that measure, how do we find them? Well, we clear the interference between us and them. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we look for open minds. And as everything, time is reconciled into the understanding of finding open minds. One of the biggest misperceptions, Sean, about open minds is that there's open-minded and closed-minded people. Absolutely not true. There are people who are more open-minded more of the time, but there's not anyone that doesn't have an open mind at some time. And in fact, sometimes the greatest opportunities, and it totally used to confuse me and dispel me. I'm like, how the heck is that guy doing business with Sean Dill? That guy has the closest mind I've ever seen. That's because Sean Dill realized that time is reconciled into the open mind, meaning that we need to understand that everyone has an open mind at a different time. So if we find someone with an open mind at that time, we then can facilitate the open-ended question guide that I created, the template to building this community of sponsors and power sponsors. So when we find an open mind, now we go ahead and ask an open question pertaining to what we want. What are you doing today with chiropractic? What are you doing today with solar? What are you doing today with forgiveness? What are you doing today with gratitude? Whatever it is. And then as we move through what they tell us, we ask them, what do you like about that? Right? We get an emotional attachment. What don't you like about that? Which not only gives us an emotional attachment, provides us an opportunity to give our transition question of value, which is very clearly, oh, would it help you if I did this? And then from there, we get a yes or no question, and we keep exploring with open-ended questions how we can be of service or value. When we determine our power sponsorship or sponsorship to that person, we now can turn and ask, do you know anyone that can help me? Thus recruiting them with their open mind, which also has open hearts and open hands, into our network or community of power sponsors and power sponsors, building upon itself. But the key component that most people don't utilize is the reconciliation of time, because they don't understand that everyone has an open mind at a certain time. So how do we figure that out? Well, we use the 3-no rule. The 3-no rule allows us to go ahead and seek that open mind, but we may get rejected even by the person who has the most open of minds, the most open of minds, the most of the time. Even those people, if we utilize the 3-no rule, statistically, we'll probably find out that the second ask or the third ask as we get will actually result in an open mind. Now, someone that has a more closed mind, it now allows us not to waste our time. So if we encounter someone for the third time, and once again, they have a closed mind, we now have a transition statement that simply says, obviously, Sean, this isn't the right time. When it is, reach back out to me. And now we have two results that occur. One is we've accelerated the open mind and they call us back because now they control their time and they say to themselves, you know what, I really want to do that with Sean, but this is a good time. I'm going to call him back. So a certain percentage, and I always say 50% of the time, and you and I both know that my favorite statistic is 99% of all statistics are made up. I made up 50%. It seems like 50% to me. But more importantly, to that measure, we now have accelerated the sales cycle and not wasted our time by putting the open-minded timing on the person that we're asking. Now, 50% or so of the time, the person never calls us back. And so if that person never calls us back, now we've saved a ton of time because it takes 1,000 times the time to re-engineer a closed mind into an open mind, where we can facilitate the open-ended questions to find out how we can be of service or value to them, or they can be of service or value to us, thus recruiting them into a huge collective consciousness of sponsors and power sponsors, which, by the way, elevates your frequency or vibration, creates a new neighborhood for you. So more coincidences, more statistical success occurs by what you want, who you can help, and who can help you.
The sponsors are those that can help you. Power sponsors can help you, and no others that can help you. Is that correct?
Sponsor is someone that only knows someone that can help you, and a power sponsor is someone that can help you, and they know someone that can help you.
So the logical next progression in that would be, it starts to work. It starts to bear fruit for both parties. Then we want to continue down this path. So we want to memorialize the agreement that we have, so that feelings don't get hurt or there's not misunderstandings. And that's ultimately where I want to focus on the back half of this is, what do we do when maybe things get a little bit sideways, or we get disappointed, or maybe the other person's disappointed with us, or there's times to let relationships fall away. But in order to attempt to mitigate that, we should memorialize that. And part of, you teach your overlap agreement. So I would love to hear about the overlap agreement, but what I also would love to hear is there's this awkward little piece in the middle where I say, Dave, I would love to memorialize this, love to send you business, love the business that you're sending me. I would like to remunerate you for the business that you're sending. And then one of the parties says, yeah, sure. What do you think is fair? And so then you're caught in this, like, well, 50%. Like, what do you say? How do we determine the structure of the overlap agreement so that it's fair for everybody?
Yeah. So you have to know two things: your perceived value of what you actually think is fair, and also your bottom line when you create or memorialize. It's a non-binding agreement that can be codified if you want it to be, but most importantly, you want it to be searchable, accessible, so you can remember, recollect, and remind yourself, who was that guy in Indianapolis that had that great pizza and coffee place? Whatever it is, you want to be able to remember, because if you get into the system of creating the community of sponsors and power sponsors, you'll be overwhelmed with opportunities. That's why prioritization is so key. And we actually do prioritize by the best deals. And it's okay to articulate someone that, hey, if you want my attention, give me a better deal. But I find that most people, you are put into a situation of miscommunication, which creates awkward feelings when we don't have alignment. And so in order to get alignment, when I'm memorializing an agreement with Sean, which we have so many overlap opportunities together, which is why I wanted you to come in as one of my best mentees. And also, I always say my best mentees are also mentors. The only difference is I charge them and they don't charge me, which is a beautiful situation in our memorialization of this. And then you get to use them here on Clubhouse and everywhere to teach other people. So I'm very transparent of the perceived value that I've been able to create with Sean. And the bottom line would be zero. More importantly, take away the awkwardness, share your perceived value, and know what you think is fair. So for me, I have a standard, right? My perceived value is 20% for me closing deals for you, and 10% usually for me making introductions. Now, considering I always like to think and try to get someone else to tell me what's fair. They'll tell me a lot of times, hey, look, I'm just interested in your bottom line. You don't have to give me your perceived value. Fairness to me is, what that bottom line is, and I'll give you mine. 2010, your bottom line, maybe 50 or whatever, and then we can go ahead and split the baby. I do not waste time because I know my perceived value and my bottom line in everything I do. It's just a waste of time to get caught into the realm of, oh, this or this, and now your ego gets involved that they're getting more than you. If you predetermine, your ego is not involved anymore because you've always determined what's fair to you. It doesn't matter if the person wanted to pay you more or less. What you would be willing to do it for and what would motivate or inspire you to do it.
I love that. That also, though, jumps into, let's talk about what happens when, as you brought up, your bottom line and your perceived value. Just for a second, let's talk about that as far as delivering a product or service. We run into a lot of times somebody that's like, wow, Dave, I'd love to work with you. I'd love to go to a mastermind with you. I'd love to engage with you. But look, I want to be honest with you. The economics don't work out for me. It would be a big stretch for me economically to do that. And every human being, I think if you're human, you have a heartbeat, it pulls on our heartstrings, right? Because then you start to think, well, here's my bottom line. And yeah, but maybe I could make a deal for this person, or maybe I could even let them come for free. How do we navigate that so that we can stay in integrity with ourselves and the prospects, yet still feel good about the service that we're delivering to the world?
Downstreams, one of the best things that I've been able to do is I've structured different buckets of evolution to help empower people. So knowing that I may not have been able to articulate quantitative value to exceed what I'm asking for, and it may not be the right time in order to create a realistic opportunity, uh, then I have to have other opportunities to build up to. So Sean, for example, we're doing the 500, the Indy 500 mastermind. Not everybody can afford that. And a lot of people have come to me and say, I really want to go, but I can't afford it. And I'll articulate the value of, if you're not going to invest in yourself, well, you invest in it. It's like, I get it. I know it's worth it. I just don't got the cash, man. So unless you want to finance me or give me the money or let me come for free, I cannot come to your 500 Indy 500 mastermind. The difference of today compared to in the past is I have an empowerment downstream that says, terrific. I totally understand. We do a few masterminds every year. I did Meltzer Island. We do the 500. We'll do the Super Bowl, whatever experiential things that we decide to do. But let's make the money so you can make more money. And so what I do is I'll start and say, first of all, I have free trainings. I do Ask Me Anythings every Monday. I go live on IG. I answer questions. I also will give anyone 5 minutes of my time. Schedule a phone call with me for 5 minutes. I also am willing to do an overlap agreement with anyone to make introductions to help facilitate you getting money. And guess what? None of these things cost a dime. So if you're willing to invest in yourself, we can utilize the methodologies in the downstream that I've created in order for you to gain the capital in order to take advantage of opportunities. And maybe you have a little bit. And I have a group setting where we meet once a week, and it has a private networking group, and it's very little money every month, but you get one-on-one coaching with me every week. Then I have a wait list for one-on-one coaching, which costs less than the mastermind, but still more money. And then I even have business advisory, which could include performance and equity and advisory, daily activities, et cetera, moving and leading you to, if we fit you into the system, we will accelerate the amount of time where you will be able to afford the opportunity, even if we are able to articulate that value. And I think a lot of people, it's nothing or everything. And so they're forced to take nothing because they don't have anything to give for free except for the one opportunity that they were looking at. So I think it's really important to have those buckets for everyone: free, group, personalized, and specialized. I'll repeat that for everyone: free, group, personalized, and specialized. And I'll tell you why that's also important, Sean, and you've learned this as well. We lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves how great of a speaker we are. We lie to ourselves of what great mentors we are. Look, I have plenty, and I work month to month for this reason. I have plenty of people that get the value out of what I do in 3 months. And I have other people that have been with me literally since I started 7 years ago, right? It just varies. I also have people that it's not a good fit, right? I have people, it's just not a good fit. They're not ready. Just like I wasn't ready to hear my father when he told me money doesn't buy love. I wasn't ready to hear my best friend when he told me I wasn't surrounding myself with the right people, the right ideas. And I absolutely wasn't ready to hear my wife tell me that I was lost. I wasn't ready to hear it. So no matter how much they were trying to help me, I wasn't ready to be helped. And that's going to occur too. But we lie to ourselves and we think that everybody would benefit from the great Sean Dill or David Meltzer's mastermind. Why won't you come? Everybody in the world will make so much bullshit. They won't, right? They won't. But we want to find an area where we can help to pursue the potential so that someday they fit into a higher investment in themselves. And so don't lie to yourself. The good thing about those buckets is it proves to you, because people will ask you, hey man, group ain't good enough for me. I want to get on your wait list for one-on-one, or this one-on-one's not good. Dave, I want to come to the master. I want specialized, right? I'm willing to pay for it. Still month to month, still guaranteed quantitatively. But if you are truly walking the walk, the people that fall into the 10% that hate you will always hate you. The 80% that are at the right time and ready will come about. And of course, the 10% that love you, that are willing to pay anything just to be with you, will always be there as well. But if you have the free bucket, the group bucket, the one-on-one bucket, and the specialized bucket, you'll be able to have a true vision in how successful you are by the people asking to move up in the buckets.
I love that. And that is something that we've learned from you, and we've applied in the Black Diamond Club with a great degree of success and figuring out where people fit in. I always think too, when you talk about we lie to ourselves, but we also overestimate our future self's ability to act. I think a lot of us say like that's why we always say like, oh, I'll do that later. We don't actually have good intentions. We believe that our future self never messes up. So we can assign tasks to our future self, and our future self will always come through. But we also know that your future self doesn't always come through. And that's where I want to go sort of in this back half here. What happens when people don't come through? I think it's interesting because this is an area where I'm trying to work on, and I've observed you and through observation, and you talk about like how you learn from your mother through observation. I've realized that you have done a really good job of self-mastery, even with individuals, like you said, that might not be in your neighborhood, that have lower energetic vibration. You understand how to navigate their field and sit in that same field with them so that they feel comfortable. For me, that's a challenge. And the challenge exists when you feel like somebody has not honored their word or an agreement that you had with them. My tendency is really to just cut off and get out of there as fast as I can. And it is very difficult for me to sit in their same energetic field. Sometimes people tell you, yes, I will help you. You uphold your end of the bargain. Then you go back to them and you're like, hey, can you do what you said you were going to do? And they're kind of no, or yeah, they blow you off. And for me, I'm just like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to do anything with them. Then I observe you and you're like, but you're so kind. I want to learn how to be kinder. How do you do that?
That's so nice. Well, first of all, kindness is a superpower. And I believe in kindness because I have faith that I'm being protected and promoted. And my job is to raise my awareness while still being able to connect to and through all vibrations or frequencies below me. Right? We can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than us. And so I want to learn from those that are vibrating faster by asking questions, open-ended questions to increase my vibration and a variety of other things that I do. But the way that I do it is to ask them questions. I want to be known as the world's most interested man. I love the Dos Equis guy. He's the world's most interesting man. And, it really is a matter of ego when we are separate, inferior, or superior to someone. And there's no doubt that you can feel a frequency difference when someone's just at a lower vibration. They usually, one of the things I love about you is you expect miracles and you're extremely accountable. Accountability is you are someone who participates in what's ever occurring and learning from it. That's accountability. Not, I used to say, what did I do to attract it? And then I realized, wait a second, that's once again living in a scarce mode that I did something for it to come. No, what did I do to participate in it is different than attracting it. And what am I supposed to learn from it? The next step that you have to take is this idea of truly what interested is. That I'm interested in your frequency. I'm interested in the vernacular, the vocabulary, the intonation, the connotation, and the energy and the energetic and genetic inheritance of a lower vibration so that I can meet people where they're at and help elevate them. And one of the interesting things that I do is I use simple, low barrier in multi-layered activities to determine what layer you're at. And I'll give you an example. Thank you, right? Or I am. These are two things I talk about a lot. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am worthy, and I am happy. What am I doing to interfere with it? If I ask questions about those things, I can determine what layer, level, frequency, or vibration you're at. If I talk about gratitude and talk about you need to say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up, the questions that are interacting by being more interested, I can determine at what level you understand gratitude. So if I start talking to gratitude saying, look, Gratitude is the greatest thing to reconcile with time because there's light, love, and lessons in everything. You need to figure out daily in a pragmatic, realistic way whether it's worth your time to find the light, the love, and the lessons in the situation, activities, paid, unpaid, planned, unplanned, sleep, or people, open-minded or closed-minded. You need to determine and reconcile in the daily activities whether time is worth it or not, but still maintain a trajectory or aiming to a midterm unrealistic and a long-term completely unrealistic objective. See, your daily activity should be extremely pragmatic. Your midterm objectives should be unrealistic, and your long-term objectives should be completely out of this realm, like empowering over 1 billion people in your lifetime or living to over 111 years old, healthy, happy, wealthy, and worthy. These are long-term objectives that most people laugh at me, scoff at me, and make fun of me. I also have some midterm objectives that are like 6 years from now. I want to have the nicest penthouse in downtown San Diego. People laugh at me, scoff at me, make fun of me for that, but it's a little bit more realistic than empowering over 1 billion people. And then if I gave you my calendar today and said, here's the activities I plan, don't have planned in my sleep, nobody would laugh at me. Right? I'm just executing. And this all falls within the ideas of what understanding do you have? And do I understand all the layers of complexity so that I can communicate something as simple as, hey, just do a gut check. Do you remember to say thank you? And do you say thank you? Or, how do you reconcile time each day with the 5 daily activities in order to effectuate whether it's worth your time to find the light, the love, and the lessons in blank? Those are completely different frequencies of gratitude.
What would you do if someone was at a lower vibration, they had shown this to you, and obviously, like you said, we cannot be aware of people at a higher vibration. So they're at the lower vibration. They don't understand that you're not at the same level in kindness and gratitude, in business philosophy, and they return back to you. And they're like, hey, Dave, you want to do that favor for me again? Because it worked out really great for me. How do we handle that?
So look, I give unconditionally. So I have to know my priorities. And it's okay to allow people to fall away if doing something for them would take away from doing from something that's more important to you. So I have a really tricky line that I tell people, and it's to the true core of my understanding of the universe. Oh, that sounds terrific, but not at this time. Right? I can't do that at this time. And it's one of the mechanisms to put in the great chain of feeding, because most people spend the majority of the time with closed mind, things that bleed them. And we want to spend our daily activity in things that feed us. And the truth is if we truly could live in infinity of time each day, which you can live in an infinity of time in your entire existence, but it's difficult to live in infinity of time when you're given 24 hours. And so you need to be practical and pragmatic in articulating to the person, hey, I would love to help you, but I'm not capable at this time. Once again, that puts me in the realm of 50% of the time, I might go back to them if I do have the time or there's an overlap of an opportunity that makes it less friction or less energy. Or I may never get back to them because it may never be the right time. But nonetheless, I've been completely honest and transparent that my intention is to be of service and of value of everyone, but I'm not capable of being of service and value to you at this time. And if you're going to study anything as you build the layers, is understanding. I study Einstein every day. I study Think and Grow Rich every day. I study reconciling the man-made construct of time with the relativity of time. I reconcile time into value. I reconcile time into value because real value is timeless. So if you want to find real value, if you're aspiring and pursuing something that has a diminished value, it's not real value. If value can be diminished, it's not real over time. So, is it real in the man-made construct? Absolutely. Is it necessary? Absolutely. Could it be prioritized and put within your value system? Absolutely. But the greatest value are the things that hold value for eternity: love, gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. The houses, the cars, the crypto, the NFTs, they're not real value, because over time they will diminish, dissolve, and disappear. The value will never leave love and truth. The value will never leave gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability. Those are real values. And if you prioritize by real value in your life and utilize time in order to reconcile what's important to you in the man-made construct of our pragmatic day with those midterm unrealistic and the super unrealistic of the long term, this is how we can have more productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. We can be more productive, accessible, and gracious, and we can be more efficient, effective, and statistically successful by feeding that which feeds us. All right, Sean, we're going to take some questions. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and illuminating, how to be a great student. I say I went to college, and what did I learn? I learned to be a good student at Occidental College. I don't really remember anything I learned there. I took, classic music and kinesiology and statistics and calculus, a bunch of history. I use Google to find it and access it now, but the one thing I did learn at Occidental was to be more interested than interesting, and to be a student, to pay attention to and give 5 levels of intention to what I do, say, think, believe, and feel, to create the coincidences in my life. And I think this is essential today. And I want to thank Sean Dill, and everybody follow Sean, reach out to him. If you want to go to his masterminds, they're extraordinary. I don't miss any of them. As an instructor, a mentor, and a coach, they're the best masterminds I've ever been to, and they're fun, which makes it even better. So, Sean, where can people reach you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, well, first of all, being a good student, emulating mentorship. If anybody wants to shoot me an email, my email address is Shawn, SHAWN, at blackdiamondclub.com. My wife and I have tons of just standing value freebies. They're located at www.gethopetoday.com, www.gethopetoday.com. Visit us there. And I'm going to be hanging out today later on with Dave. And so hit me up on social media, and I'll see if I can grab him, and we'll hit you back with responses, especially if you have any questions about our upcoming mastermind. We'd love to connect with you. Don't be shy. You've got questions. I'll make sure that if I don't have the answer, I'm going to grab Dave and I'll get him to give us an answer together.
I appreciate you, and I've learned so much from Sean Dill. Thanks for joining me. All right, Sean, I'm going to take some questions now online. I'll see you in a little bit. We're going to go to Paul McCartney tonight at SoFi with a bunch of great collective minds, and have a fabulous time. Can't wait to see Lacey as well. Maybe I'll have Lacey for one of these hot seat coachings as well. Would love it. We would see the better half of Sean for sure, as Julie's my better half. Anyway, thanks, Sean. All right, I'm going to take actually, Jake, why don't you reset the room? I'll take an online question, and then we'll bring somebody else up on Clubhouse.
Sure will. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much. And to connect with Sean, it's just Shawn, SHAWN, at blackdiamondclub.com, and then www.gethopetoday.com. But that was amazing. Thank you so much, Sean. We've got some incredible guests lined up, people here to ask a question to David. Happy Friday, everybody. If you'd like to ask a question, just back channel me. Also, if you have any questions for Dave, feel free to email him. It's just david@dmeltzer.com. david@dmeltzer.com. We're creating an unbelievable community here on Clubhouse in the Breakfast of Champions. So, Dave, I'll pass it back over to you. When you're back, we've got a super special guest here to introduce himself and then, of course, to ask you a question. We've got Alvin Johnson when you're ready to come back.
Oh, yeah, right on. Anyway, yeah, email me too if you want those open-ended question guides, overlap agreement, any of the exercises, guides, or things that Sean and I talked about. They're all free. Just start building the buckets with us. Anyway, I'll start with this one. How do you deal with negative, repetitive thoughts? Well, I've created a mechanism called cancel, clear, connect. And so what I do is if I get a negative thought, I actually sometimes out loud say cancel. What I want to do is not allow the negative thought to continue. And I want to make it very clear to my conscious, subconscious, and unconscious being, my unconscious competency, my quantum being, it's not okay. That's not what I want. I only want to spend minutes and moments in negativity and complaining and worrying and the separation of energy. And so I cancel it. If it keeps on coming back, I go ahead and just clear my mind. So I utilize the stop, drop, and roll technique. I identify the repetitive negative nature of a reoccurring negativity. I then, instead of resist it, try to out logic it, out analyze it. I simply stop and breathe. Then I remind, remember, and recollect. What are you reminding, remembering, and recollecting to? That's right, the great omniscient, all-powerful source that you become a resource of. And then I go ahead and remind, remember, and recollect what I want, who I can help, who can help me, and how to get it done with those mechanisms that Sean and I discussed, so that I can prioritize utilizing time in reconciliation with what's important to me, with my personal experiential giving and receiving values. If I do that, I then am able to connect, to be inspired. So I cancel, clear, connect. I have a visualization mechanism to find whether or not it's worth my time to find the light, the love, and the lessons. And if it is, I construe the light, the love, and the lessons and hold that space over me. Feel free. I'll send out the cancel, clear, connect methodology. It's also in my book, which I'll give to you for free, Connected to Goodness. I'll sign a copy for Clubhouse for the Breakfast of Champions. I will pay for the book and shipping, so it's not the $9.99 free book scam where I charge you for shipping and handling. I'll go ahead and mail it out to you, sign it, and send it to you. Just email me at david@dmeltzer.com. First name, first initial, last name, david@dmeltzer.com. All right, Jake, we got Alvin in the house. Let's get him up here.
Introduction and feel free to ask your question to David. Welcome, Alvin.
Hey, good morning, Jake. Good morning, David. Alvin Hope Johnson. And man, I've just been listening this morning, David, for about the last half hour or so. And just want to tell you thank you for coming to share your greatness with us. You know, I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to be on your podcast, and that was really, really delightful for me. Listening to you talk this morning, you said you can learn much at Occidental College except how to be a student. Well, man, they should taught you a lot, because listening to you, man, it gives me so much. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm enamored. Yeah, that's a good word. Just to be in your presence. So being with you on your podcast the other day just taught me so much. And listening to you this morning, I don't have anything. I don't have the question. I just want to again say thank you for sharing with us this morning. This Clubhouse app has been one of the best things happened to me in the last couple of years, meeting guys like you and Jake. So again, thank you for your time this morning and blessing us all with your greatness.
Well, thank you. The genius and greatness that I hold is the expression of God. And I say that humbly, that when I learned how to learn, what I learned was how to clear the interference between me and my faith. And I know one of the conversations is we'll launch that podcast, and you got to hear it, because we share a journey of lessons, of pain, mistakes, failures, and setbacks. But the promotion and protection that we received by something bigger than us, that loves us more than our mom, is a shared experience that allows us to have these expressions. And everybody, it's funny because Jake travels with me and you can hear the exhaustion in his voice. I pushed him really hard to keep up with me with all the travels that Sean and I were doing and all the different events and still maintaining the 25-year-old personal life. He needs to eat a bag of potato chips with that exhausted voice. But he asked me, Dave, how do you have so much energy? And I said to him, Alvin, I said, brother, I'm 54 years old. You're 25. If you think I have more physical energy than you're mistaken. But we share the same energy. We share an omniscient, all-powerful source. I've just gotten better, which started at Occidental College, by being a student, by studying, by being more interested than interesting, how to clear the interference that so many of us hold between us and the all-power. And so what you perceive as more energy, it's kind of like a sprinter, Alvin. Carl Lewis was one of our clients at Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment. And it was shocking when I said, man, how do you get that boost of energy? How do you get that boost of energy, Carl? Man, it's incredible how you pull away from everybody in the 100 meters as you set the world record. And he said, Dave, what are you talking about? Nobody has a boost of energy. Nobody speeds up after 60 meters. It's humanly impossible. I'm just slowing down less. I'm just slowing down less. And so I just have less interference. You see, no matter how strong and fast Jake is at 25 years old, if he has to carry 20 pounds of interference on his back in our 24-hour active day, if he has to carry 24 pounds of interference in his backpack, and I'm only clearing or carrying 1 pound of interference, it doesn't matter who's faster or stronger. It's going to get to you. We are all connected to and through the greatest source of power, omniscient all power. What are you doing to interfere with it? That's why we do what we do, Alvin, is to help share what we have done in the past to clear that, the dummy tax that we paid, and hopefully people can learn from that dummy tax the lessons of clearing the interference between them and the source so they can become a greater resource. Great question, Alvin. Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it. Jake, I should have Coco on here next, but I'm going to take a question online. Why don't you bring up our next guest, okay?
You got it. Shout out Coco, by the way, as well. And thank you so much, Alvin.
Thank you guys so much.
Alvin, where can people find you?
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Jake, I'll take a quick question online and we'll bring up our next guest. We got 17 minutes left. We'd love to stay on time reconciling that. And so let me take this question. What is your favorite type of problem to help your coaching clients solve? Well, first of all, the biggest misuse of time exists between problems and solutions. And so the 3 types of issues that people have are mindset issues about the way they see things, heart set issues about the way they feel about things, and then, of course, hand set issues about how they're going about the activities that they utilize each day, the daily practices to be efficient, effective, and statistically successful, to pursue their potential and enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of that potential. I love to solve problems in 3 areas: how to help people make more money, help more people, and have more fun. Those 3 elements allow people to be happy. It's that simple. I've never met anyone in the world that makes a ton of money, helps a ton of people, and has a ton of fun that is not happy. I'm sorry. Those are the people that are happy. And so utilizing that methodology as my favorite types of interference to clear, or as you suggest, problems to solve. And I do also want to say, mentoring is just telling people about the dummy tax and giving them directions to where we want to be. Coaching is bringing the best out in people, and teaching is what Sean was talking about, having the capability to explain where people are, to meet them where they are so that they can continue themselves to learn, to do their best, and to have fun. All right. Great questions so far. Go ahead, Jake, reset the room real quick and then bring our next guest up here.
You got it. Thank you so much, Dave. We've got 15 minutes here left on the Breakfast with Champions with David Meltzer's Hour of Power. If you'd like to follow up with David afterwards, just feel free to email him, david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. We've got some unbelievable questions coming in through here. So next up, I will pass it over to Susie Miller. Susie, if you can please unmute yourself and feel free to ask David a question. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Jake, so much. I appreciate it. And Dave, thank you for all your pouring into us. Every time I'm on your listen to your segments, I take notes and I kind of shut down. All I'm doing so I can focus in on what you're saying. And interestingly enough, when I messaged Jake about my question, it was different from the one I'm going to ask you, just in what you've said in the last 5 minutes. So thank you. I look forward to meeting you in person one day at one of the Breakfast with Champion events. My question for you, first, let me say this. I have spent 30 years in the growth industry, and part of my clientele are the people who have the wealth, but they've lost their health and they've lost their relationships. And in working with them, I ended up doing a lot more with their businesses and helping them navigate their life. But when I listened to you, what I feel are gaps in understanding, even in my own work. And so you mentioned three things: the pragmatic, the midterm, and the long term. And you talked a little bit about the dummy tax. And so my question to you is, in moving from the midterm to the pragmatic, what do you do specifically that you learn from the dummy tax you paid that you no longer do to assess how you fill your pragmatic calendar so that your midterm goals lead to your long range possibilities?
I love that. So first, we have to determine, how do we determine possibilities for our day? And so the way that we determine the possibilities of today is we ask ourselves, what do I want long term? So for me, always to be healthy, right? I want to live to over 111 years old. I want to empower over 1 billion people. What do I want midterm? I might look at a midterm objective of, my youngest child, I have 4 children, will be leaving the home in 6 years from now. So that may be a midterm point of trajectory. Once I determine what my long-term objectives, which can be far-fetched and unbelievable, my midterm objectives, which would be unrealistic in respect, and then my daily activities are aimed towards, just for today, what those are, knowing that I can change my mind tomorrow. But for today, I'm going to set forth the possibility of what do I want personally today, according to my aim, my trajectory of those mid and long-term objectives. What do I want experientially today of those in trajectory and aim towards mid and long term? What do I want to produce today? How productive do I want to be today in the trajectory? And then what do I want to receive? How accessible do I want to be? And I go ahead and balance those 4. And once I determine what I want today, according to the trajectory, I then have a possibility, this mathematical advantage that most people don't have, because they don't take the time to ask themselves, what do I want? Not what other people want, not what's missing, not what you don't have, which all create interference and creates the separation of inferiority, superiority, creates the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, allows you to have the duplicative negative of interference, of complaining about things and worrying about them. But once I know what I want today, then I can take my possibility and make it a probability for today by asking myself 2 questions. And it's what Sean and I talked about at first. Who can I help with what I want today? And who can help me? Building that network, that collective consciousness of sponsors and power sponsors aligned with abundance, aligned with good deeds and kindness, of being of service and value to each other, in living in, by the way, in the world of probability, a value add world, not a zero sum world, where when we receive something, somebody else is lost. It's just a matter of appreciation, acknowledgement, and asking for more expansive acceleration that causes value add for everything that we do. And now, to answer your question, once I know my possibility of what I want, my inspired probability of who I can help and who can help me, I then put it down into the calendar with lenses of productivity, meaning how productive am I with my time, lenses of accessibility, how accessible am I to others with my time, and how am I accessing what I want, regulated by that great chain of feeding. Is it worth my time to find the light, the love, and the lessons in this activity? And of course, the lens of gratitude as well. And when we utilize time, the calendar, in order to effectuate activity, at first we have planned, which you had mentioned, some non-negotiables. Number 1 of health, because if you're healthy, you get as many asks as you want in activities as you want. And if you're unhealthy, you only have 1 ask in 1 activity. Next, family for me is a non-negotiable. So I'm actively programming and planning minimums amount of time every day with those people that are most important to me. And then, of course, the activity I get paid for, which I prioritize as well. And I give those things plans during the day. I also use my non-negotiables of health, family, and activity I get paid for to determine what my activity I don't have planned should be. And I also let it utilize for sleep. If I know my what the possibilities, my who, the probabilities of inspired collective consciousness, and of course, my how of how to utilize my time with that which feeds me, not that which bleeds me, by reconciling productivity, accessibility, and gratitude to be most efficient, effective, and statistically successful in the man-made construct of time, as well as in the relativity of time, by enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential with that time. I now have the construct to prioritize, right? Remember, prioritization is the confirmation of probability in my life. Prioritization is the antidote to procrastination. It's impossible to procrastinate if you know the what, the who, and the how. It also is an antidote to feeling overwhelmed, because prioritization is the antidote to saying, I live in a world of abundance. I have too much to do, too many people to talk to, too much opportunity, the big O and the little C. And so when I prioritize overwhelmness, I then create a certainty and a peace that allows me as an antidote to go ahead and be productive, accessible, and gracious with my time. If you know your what, your who, your how, and your now, you can apply your why. You're not in search of getting more money, more happy, more wealthy, healthy, worthy, not more. Just simply, what am I doing to interfere with it? I'm only going to spend minutes and moments in this interference, in the interference of the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loves me more than my mom loves me, which renders me protected and promoted at all times, not punished. Too many people live in the punishment of wanting what other people want for them, what's missing, what they don't have. They render themselves in punishment in a world of not enough. They can't transition into a world outside of minutes and moments of abundance, of a value add world. They're living in a zero sum world of some degree of happening to me as a victim, for me, buying things I don't need to impress people I don't like, or through me in a world of abundance, of inspiration, of inspired relationships and thought. Possibilities are formed by what you want, personally, experientially, giving and receiving, in a trajectory of those unrealistic midterm and super unrealistic long-term objectives. Knowing who our sponsors and power sponsors will render the possibility to a probability by being inspired, and then reconcile it with time as being a student of your calendar, paying attention to, giving intention to the coincidences and the activities of the 24 hours that you've been gifted, which will change not only your efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success of pragmatic usage of time, but also allow you to prioritize that time and thus shift the relativity of time by applying your why, by being inspired, by enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. I hope that I was speaking at your frequency and that would be of some value to you. And in different levels, feel free, anyone, to reach out for those daily activities. What an extraordinary question. This is the core structure of my dummy tax. That is the roadmap to happiness.
It was very powerful, David. And I wrote as fast as I could, and I stopped and just listened. Thank you.
Replays are available, and you can listen at half speed even. So
I talk fast too. I always tell people that they say talk slower. I say listen faster. A couple things. I'm going to rip up my calendar and change the way I plan my days. Profoundly impactful in where we miss, or I'll just really miss the boat in our focus of how we plan our days. So thank you for that. The second thing that made me smile was what you said about the omniscient, all powerful source who loves us more than our mom. And I will tell you, becoming a mom, our kids are all in their 30s now, early 30s, just in case you do the math and want to figure out how old I am. I learned more about the love of the all-powerful, omniscient source by being a mom. And when I began to lean into that, love was available to me. Love, so I always say we love our kids unreasonably, relentlessly, without any reservation. And it's very different than the way I love my spouse. I picked him, but your kids come to you in a way that they're just part of you. And when I began to lean into that's how the source, or God, that's what I call the source, loves me, it changed my world dramatically, because I began to live in possibility and out of that punishment. And what I want to thank you for is you gave me some of the pragmatics of actually how to not just talk about living in possibility, but make the choices to actually make it happen in my life. So thank you so much. I will reach out to you. Can't wait to have more conversations. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you. And I will tell you as a parent myself of four that this idea of the two ignorant people, there's only two types of people, ignorant and ignorant. But I always thought that ignorant, humble people were the people that loved us the most. And arrogant, ignorant people were the ones who hated us the most. But it's really not true. Arrogance comes from fear. So yes, ignorant, arrogant people are going to judge, attack, and put conditions on you. But the people who love us the most, and here's the lesson I learned about being a parent, as you just shared, is that when we love someone that much as God, as you say, and as everyone has their own definition, as much as the source loves me, when you love someone so much, it creates an ignorant arrogance that you go ahead and pretend as if you know what you don't know, and you tell your kids you got to go to college, you got to do this, you got that's all fear-based, right? That's fear-based because we don't know. So we want to provide situational knowledge and experience and protect them and promote them, but we have to be fearful of ignorance, arrogance out of love, because we care so much and we're more afraid for our children than we are for ourselves. So therefore we give them bad advice about shit that we don't know about. And we have to realize that. And I become a much better parent when I stayed in ignorant humility with my own children and try to fight that fear that exists. But I will tell you, to the same realm, the omniscient is not ignorant. The all-powerful is not ignorant. The Almighty that loves us more than our moms love us, more than you love your children. So when the mistakes, failures, and setbacks occurs, when you don't get the business deal, your kids don't get into the school you thought they should, you get into an accident, or you get COVID, or whatever else has occurred in your life, and you feel like, why me? Why am I being punished? You're nothing but that 3-year-old kid who reaches out to touch a hot stove and your mama slaps the back of your hand and screams at you. That's all you get in your hand slap, because your mom knows the stove's going to burn you and you don't. And so your God, your source, your almighty, omniscient, all powerful knows that you're reaching out for a stove when you don't know it. So next time you have the mistakes, failures, and setbacks in your life, realize, thank you. Thank you for protecting me and promoting me the same way my mom did when I was 3, even though you can't even fathom how losing over $100 million and going bankrupt is touching a stove, right? You can't even imagine the blessings that occur with great loss and great trauma and great tragedy, as Amelia was talking before. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sean Dill, especially for being so vulnerable in allowing me to do a coaching session in front of everyone. Thank you for the extraordinary questions. Thank you. Appreciate, acknowledge, and ask for more. That's the way that we live our lives and do our best, learn lessons, and have fun. I appreciate everyone. Join us every single Friday. We're here on Clubhouse, 7 a.m. Pacific time. I want to thank Amelia, who bookends me with her genius and her expression of God and her love. I have been blessed to have you in my life for so many years. Thank you, Jakey Bakey, for exhausting yourself and learning how to clear the interference so you too can have the energy of a 54-year-old. I appreciate everyone. Jake, it's 8 a.m. Pacific time. Can you close out the room for us?
I sure can. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you.